Three,
Two.
two, one.
Hello
Hello and
and
welcome
welcome.
to.
Run with the
Oh,
view.
I'm sorry, after you.
No, after you.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah,
Hello and welcome to A Run with a View, in which two middle-aged blokes shelter from the icy winter weather, talking about movies and drinking rum.
dude, run.
I'm Stu,
And I'm Alan.
and today's episode we're going to do something a little bit different to our usual format. Usually we talk about films that we've both seen many times and we both love,
Yep.
but today we're doing a movie that I've seen many times and I'm very fond of, but
hmm
which Alan has never seen. Alan, what is today's film?
It is John Carpenter's 1982 The Thing.
That is right.
Mm. And yeah,
The
shock horror. I haven't seen it. Well, I
I
have now.
know. Well, you have
Yeah,
now. Just what, an
yeah,
hour ago? When
literally.
did you
No, no,
finish?
yeah, half an hour ago.
Half an hour. Look at that. He's still reeling. Look at him. He's still on fire.
Is it
Uh,
still me? Is it
do
still
do you
me?
trust? Yes,
Yeah.
am I
Do I
still
trust
me?
myself?
Do you trust that this really is rum and not
It's definitely
petrol?
rum.
We'll
Yeah.
come on to that.
Or I could just be saying that anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, mm.
mm.
Well, that's a lot of talking. I need a sip.
Mm.
It's the second adaptation of the
Yes.
1938 novella "Who Goes There" by
hmm
John W Campbell Jr., which I've never read, I must admit.
No, me neither.
It's no, it's directed by John Carpenter, as you say. It's his
hmm
first big studio film after
Yep.
establishing his reputation with a number of smaller independent films like Assault on Precinct 13 and Halloween and Escape from New York. And usually Carpenter would write his own films and score his own films as well
hmm
as direct them. But yeah, he worked with a different writer called Bill Lancaster this time, and the score was by Ennio Morricone because he'd been very busy, not just working on his own films, he did writing for other films like other directors' films like Eyes of Laura Mars and
hmm
Halloween 2 and stuff like that. I think, but even though he's sort of sharing the creative burden for a change, because
Yeah.
of course John Carpenter's a very
Well,
independent
yeah, it's very much a
filmmaker.
fan. John Carpenter was very much a fan of the original 1951.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, a big
Mhm.
Howard Hawks fan. Howard Hawks
Yeah.
produced and allegedly directed the original.
He
Uh,
directed
yeah, all
it.
right,
He
whatever.
did. He
Yeah,
did
we
directed it.
don't know. We weren't there.
We
Whatever. I
weren't
don't
there,
care. It's a
but
great film.
if you
Sure.
watch it, you would definitely know it's a Hawks film.
Yes,
So,
yes. It definitely feels like a Howard Hawks film.
mm.
But anyway, the premise, if you haven't seen it,
hmm
is it's an alien invasion movie,
Yeah.
but set on a very small scale. It's set in an Antarctic research station. Uh, so they're miles from anywhere,
Mm.
and the station is infiltrated by an alien species that can take the form of anyone it comes into contact with,
hmm
destroying the original in the process. And one by one, the occupants gradually come to realize that their colleagues and neighbors might not be who they say they are.
Ooh.
Now, both of us are very familiar with the 1951 version, which was
Very
called The
much
Thing
so.
from Another World.
Yeah. The thing
Um,
from another
Another World.
world.
But in this one, it's quite a different beast, literally,
Mm. Yes.
and not just because the antagonist is a man in a suit rather than or is an invisible
Mm.
shape-changing enemy rather than a man in a suit. And it's from a different era with
hmm
different concerns, done in a very
Yep.
different style, which makes it a worthwhile
hmm
kind of remake, I think.
Well, yes and no. There are, yeah. Obviously,
Oh,
it's a
there.
similar story, but the similarities between the two are, yeah, very good.
Do they outweigh the differences, do you think?
Yeah, but in just different ways because they're very different movies.
Yeah.
One being, I mean, the original, the 51 version is a much more a Cold War allegory of, science versus the military and,
And the
who
scientist
is
is the
who.
bad guy in that one.
Yeah, and
Dr.
that was
Carrington.
obviously it's just a story of who can you trust, and obviously during the 1950s, this is why a lot of B movies came out and a lot of science fiction sort of stuff because it was all based on the threat of communism
Mm.
and
And nuclear war and all that kind of
nuclear
thing.
war. So
Nuclear.
they used flying saucers and men from Mars to very much simulate the threats of communism, and you can see that very much in most 1950s boom B movies.
Invading the
The
body
invasion body
snatchers,
snatchers,
invaders from
exactly as a
Mars, people
classic. Yeah,
changing, their personalities
exactly.
changing. And
So
funnily enough though, the thing, this
mm,
version, 82 version, the kind of communist, the anti-communist sort of paranoia
Yeah, it's still
was a
alive.
bit
It's
was well, it was still around, but it wasn't as
yeah.
sort of we don't think of it as being as potent as it had been in the 50s. And yet,
No.
ironically, in this version,
Mm.
this is the version where it's a shape-changing enemy that hides in people's
Exactly, which is actually better
personalities.
based to the original novella, because
Oh,
that's
novella,
more,
yeah,
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 the
more
original
faithful,
novella
yeah,
was more
apparently.
about a shape shifting monster or alien.
Funny enough, though, I think a more instructive comparison for this film would be, rather than the original 51 version, I think would be a different film entirely, which is Alien. 1979's Alien,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, because it's fresher in the mind. It was only 3 years earlier, and that was kind of, it was kind of a
Yeah.
fashionable thing to do this kind of, because it's got both films have they start with a suspenseful, stylized title sequence, where
Mm.
the title is kind of revealed. The title of the film is revealed at the end
Yeah.
after the credits.
That was quite
They've
interesting.
both got
Yeah.
a sort of bleak, pessimistic worldview, and
Hmm.
the cast full of accomplished character actors rather than big star names, and they
Yeah.
have
Hmm.
who can kind of breathe life into their fairly one-dimensional, thinly written characters.
Yeah.
Similar dynamics in the visual storytelling, lingering shots of empty corridors, silence or ambient sound, and then it's punctuated with bursts of action and horror, which are
Hmm.
very shocking because they're very sudden and
Yeah.
and it's hard. And also I think with both films, it's about half an hour in before anything really exciting happens.
Yeah.
And just as the alien, the xenomorph
Hmm.
hibernates in sort of far-flung planets waiting to be discovered, the thing hibernates in a far-flung frozen region of the Earth waiting to be
Yeah.
discovered.
Hmm.
There's a lot of interesting comparisons there, as well as
Exactly.
with the original film.
Yeah.
But Alan, you've
Mm.
literally just watched the film, the
Hmm.
82 version. So what were the obvious ways, things you noticed, first impressions about how it differs from the original, how it's
Yeah.
similar to the original?
Okay, I mean, to give you a little bit of background, because you might be thinking, Alan, why the hell have you not watched the thing, John Carpenter? It is a classic.
Can I just say I didn't see it myself till about 20 years ago,
Okay,
when I was
yeah,
about 30, and
mm,
a mutual friend of ours brought the DVD round, so I
yeah,
never I grew up on the original version as well, like you did.
yeah. I guess the reason why I didn't see it for so long was because I love the original so much.
Mm.
Um,
Same
I
here. I was a little bit suspicious of, like, well, it can't be as good as
well,
a remake.
exactly, because it is different, and I have really enjoyed it. I am going to just put it out there. Unlike you with the Monty Python, I have really enjoyed this. Um, but and it was good to see it as a side by side comparison, because I did watch the original a couple of days ago, because I loved it so much, and I wanted to kind of like, okay, let's put myself into the shoes of both movie makers and what they're both doing with this story. And it shows that Carpenter really does love the original as well, which is nice. I was actually looking forward to seeing, right, how are they going to do the shape shifting aspect, and obviously we're looking at, again, very old, ways of getting the special effects across, especially by today's standards. And I know a lot of people do mention about actually how good it is for when it came out, and it still kind of holds its ground.
I
Where so
actually
many
think
films do
I
look
think it still
really
does.
dodgy for their time. Um, you know,
I think that, I mean, shout out to Rob Bottin
mm,
for his special effects work on this. I mean, I think really it was, I mean, yeah, incredibly at the time, absolute early 80s, absolutely groundbreaking use of
yeah,
puppetry and I
hmm
think animatronics and prosthetics and stuff like that. But I think it's still, I think it still looks great. I think first of all, it's been enormously, because it's been enormously influential. I mean, you watch
mm,
films like The Substance, or the films of Brian Usner or something like that,
mm,
Society, stuff like that.
yeah,
You can sort of see there's stuff in that. There's a bit where, someone's hand goes in someone's face and it's all like,
yeah,
all that,
exactly, yeah.
and the skin sort of goes. It's
That
like
was so
stuff like that is like
That was
out.
so Videodrome for me. It was brilliant. I love
Yes,
that.
yes, Cronenberg as well. Yes,
Yeah,
but I think the VFX have aged really well
no, they
because,
have.
but I think the reason for that is they're so outlandish and so weird, and that
Yeah,
nobody can say it's unrealistic because nobody knows what that would really look like.
very true. Also, I think this is an age thing. Okay, so forgive me for us
Oh, isn't
50
everything?
somethings. It's always going to be ages. But I think because we grew up on so many movies using puppetry before CGI came
Yeah,
around, we're much more used to seeing puppetry as a form of sci-fi stuff,
we
as
grew up
opposed to
before.
jumping straight into CGI.
We grew up before CGI became industry standard, and
Yeah,
I think the thing is CGI just gets used for everything now, pretty much.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
the sort of puppetry and all this, the animatronics, all that kind of stuff, the physical effects they call it now in
Mm,
retrospect. It was kind of just peaking in terms of
mm.
creativity and in terms of how good it could
But
really and how strange it could look and
yeah, I think
how effective it could look
you
in that sweet spot where physical effects are like really good
yeah.
and
Mhm.
CGI isn't yet the only game in town.
No, exactly. And I
So it's an
think you're
interesting
absolutely
period.
right. The subject matter of the puppetry as well, because it was Orwellian and it was made to be looking weird. And I think they've really pushed the boat out. It's like, let's go
Yeah.
weird with this. Because if you
What can you
try
think
to,
of, Rob?
exactly, whereas making it weird and outlandish and things with legs and tentacles and all
Faces
this
in
weird
half and
stuff,
all
you
that
got to
and
see because that was the other thing. You only really got to see the changing. You didn't see too much of the, right, now we're done. And obviously now
it's
we're
always in
done.
flux, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. It's always in
Yeah.
flux. It's in
That's
mid-change.
interesting.
And that's more interesting because you're more engaged. Go, how is it doing it? How is it morphing? How is it changing? It draws you
And
more
therefore
in.
why
And why? And also
early
it
on.
adds to the horror aspect of it of, oh my God, this is disgusting. This is
Mm.
horrendous. Not just the fact that, we're being assimilated and, being taken over. So
It's not just the idea that's sort of horrifying,
yeah.
it's the way it's the execution of the idea that's horrifying.
And I was actually surprised at how much we got to see.
How much of
Based
the
on,
effects?
yeah, because of basic horror is more about sort of like
Not
fear
showing
is
the
in the
monster.
unknown
Yeah, Jaws,
rather
all
than
that.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, most of the classics are don't. So I was actually quite intrigued to see how much of this we're going to see. And I didn't I didn't see it thinking of it as a horror movie.
Horror in the sense that it's horrifying rather than
Yeah,
scary, because horror has got to be either one of three things
exactly.
basically. It's got to be scary. Is it three things? Maybe it's two.
Mm.
It's either got to be scary or it's
Well,
got
you're
to
the
be
expert on that, not me.
it's got to be scary or it's got to
Mm.
be gross
Mm.
or it's got to be maybe that's it actually, maybe it's just those two. And if it's neither of those things, it's kind of failed. It's not really horror,
Mm.
and I think this is definitely gross. And
Well,
I think
yeah,
it's
it's more the
suspenseful, and there
grosser
are
side.
jump
Yeah.
scare there's a few jump scares and
No,
things.
it's more
I mean,
suspense than it is,
yeah, suspense. So
which
did
is
you
very
find it
difficult
scary?
to do. No, I didn't. And I don't like horror, and I didn't find
Mm.
it. It's mainly jump scares I don't like,
Yeah,
but I do like
it's
suspense.
scares.
I do like
Yeah,
thrillers. I do like
right.
stuff that's very well written, and I really enjoyed this, and I did enjoy the suspense. A kind of one thing I was quite interested in see is the number of characters. I know we're probably going to get onto this, but tiny little thing. It was like I almost felt like, well, why have you got too many characters? This is gonna, if you want to had a really good suspense thing about who's who, you'd reduce the number of characters you had to make more of a suspense. Who is real? Who isn't real? And I found there was actually too many characters that you
Okay.
could easily go, well, we don't know who's who yet. It isn't too much of a threat or a worry.
The idea is you start off because it takes a while for the characters and therefore for us to even
Mm.
realize what exactly the threat
And of
is.
course, you've got a couple of red herrings thrown in, as you
Oh,
always will do. Yeah.
well. I
Mm.
mean, again, we're going to get onto this later when we talk
Mm.
about characters, but I mean,
Mm.
it's the whole idea of like who's the thing? Are most
Hmm.
of them a thing? Is one of them a
Yeah.
thing? So, like you
Thing.
say, three or four of them.
Or is it to a
It's
point
never
where are
it's
you
never.
even sure that you are the thing? Do you know if
How
you've
can you
been
tell?
assimilated? Yeah. How,
It's
yeah.
also vague,
Exactly.
deliberately
Yeah.
vague. It's not a
Mm.
criticism. It's deliberately
Yeah.
vague to
Which
keep you
adds to
like
the suspense and
uncertain.
the thriller.
Keep
Yeah.
you in suspense. Yeah, it's keep
Yeah.
you uncertain. But the visual effects. I mean,
Mm.
there's a number of sort of key sort of standout scenes, big
Oh
special
yeah.
effects. Okay, you'll notice I've brought up the spoiler card because I want to talk about a couple of key sort of special effects
Mm.
scenes in the film. To my mind, there's sort of three really big ones. There's the scene in the dog kennel
Yeah.
where
Hmm.
the thing is
Yeah.
hiding in
So
the
these
dog,
are ones that
and
I've kind of. Oh right, I'm waiting for that to cover. Oh, there it is.
oh, so you
Um,
know about some of
Well,
these
yeah, but well,
already
you can't
because they've
go
been
through.
memed
Yeah, they're going to be
before and all
memes. You're
that.
going to be
Yeah.
certain things and people talking about movies and oh, and this scene in the thing. You're like, oh right, okay, then I
Oh, the
haven't
bit with the
seen this
dogs,
yet.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
so I was
if you're a dog
waiting for
lover,
a couple of scenes like the doctor scene as well.
oh, the defibrillation
The
scene,
defibrillator scene that as well. That was
yeah.
brilliant. And again, I was sort of waiting for it. I was like, is this going to be it? Yes, it is.
See,
So But
And the blood test scene
that
as
didn't
well.
take away from the horror aspects
That
of
was
it.
going to be
That
my
didn't
next question. Yeah.
It
Did it
didn't. But
spoil
even
it
though
for
I
you, anything
kind
that?
of knew what was coming up, I was going, right, how is this going to happen? How is it going to portray?
The
So,
context. But each of those scenes, I mean, this is
mm,
where Rob Bottin and his visual effects team they really
yeah.
go to town,
Oh,
and this is where it's
definitely.
like
Yeah.
you can almost see them licking their lips with glee and
Hats
rubbing
off
their
to
hands
them.
like,
They did a
oh, this is going to be
fabulous job. They really did.
yeah, no,
So,
they're
and I really
fantastic.
enjoyed it. So, yeah, let's go through them. So, we had the dog scene in the
Yeah,
kennel.
yeah,
And again, that was really nice because obviously it's all in dark, so you still. And
yeah,
again, you're thinking, well, why don't they just turn all the lights on for God's sakes? But obviously they can't because it's suspense and it's yeah.
yeah, and also because it looks shitter in the light.
Exactly, that's
Yeah,
it. So you've got to learn to dispel that disbelief of
yeah,
little bits and pieces. But again, you are kind of watching and going, right, what the hell is this? Is it
yeah.
forming
What?
one
Wait,
dog, six dogs? What's it trying to do? But at this stage, we're trying to what is this thing?
we don't
So I
know yet,
think
and neither do the
the
characters.
variedness of the creature and the puppetry and the the visual aspect of what this alien is about, really the weirder the better
And the
because
defibrillation scene is arguably even
well
weirder, where
exactly because you
he's doing the
like
old clear, puts his
there
hands down, the stomach opens and eats
opens
his arms. They go straight.
exactly
It's
arms
like
go in and it's
and
like
it's a
Alien in reverse.
oh yeah, yeah, exactly.
It is
And
it's
the
Alien in
scream
reverse.
from the actor
Yes.
playing the doctor, is it
Ah,
Richard Dysart? I
brilliant.
think the
Hmm.
scream on that guy is like, and the look on his
Hmm.
face is just like it's half pain and half like
Well, exactly, and I mean, if you go back to what the movie, what was happening in that particular scene, because obviously it was a defibrillator going on,
Hmm.
and this alien
They
is
think the
not
guy's having
dead,
they think he's having a
and
heart
they're
attack and
shocking this alien, so the
yeah.
alien's going into self-protection mode to
Yeah, and
kind of
then, but
yeah
after that, it gets even weirder, where like his head
weirder,
comes
yeah,
off,
exactly. Head comes off and
sprouts little
sprouts
legs, and
tentacles,
runs out of
turns
the
into
room.
spider thing. But then that was brilliant. That lovely line. Are you kidding me?
You've got to be
You're kidding,
fucking kidding.
kidding me. I
I
mean,
know we try not to swear on this channel,
I
but
know.
I think when you bring that humor in it, that dry
Mm,
humor into it, though, it sort of acknowledges the absurdity of the imagery, and it sort of
mm,
plugs the gaps in the audience's disbelief a little bit. We're sort of like
mm.
because he's saying exactly what we're thinking.
Because that's the other thing is really hard to do with not seeing film for so many decades, and then you do get around to watch them. Part of it's always going to get spoiled, so you've
Yeah.
got to learn to like detach
In
yourself
fact, yeah, you
and
know
just
what?
ignore all the memes and stuff. But when they do happen, you kind of acknowledge it, but right, carry on with the story. Don't get distracted from the story.
And if the film's any good, if it's worth its salt, then it will have
Oh, it
that
will.
effect
Yeah,
anyway.
it
It'll
did.
transcend that anyway, won't it?
Mm.
Um, I think the other big, or another big special effects scene is the blood test scene,
Yeah,
which has all
that
the
was
same
brilliant.
elements.
I
It's like
love that.
he's
That
tested all the
was
blood
yeah.
and
So I knew
suspense
that was going to
again,
be
but
happening, but obviously it had no sort of like correlation to why they would dip in a bit of needle into a
yeah, why is
petri
he doing
dish.
that? What's that?
Why
What
is
does
he
that
doing
mean?
that? So
You need the
obviously I
context
had
for that.
no so getting the context of that and that scene was fabulous. It
Hmm.
really was great. And I was kind of trying to watch the other characters' faces to see who's going to give anything away. Is there going to be a bead of sweat? Is there going to be, any other sort of and there
A
wasn't.
shifty
And that was
look.
brilliant. You didn't get that kind of like cliche kind of close-up shot beads of sweat coming down there, to try and give it away. You didn't get it until that moment,
Yeah, and then
which
the
is
blood
great.
literally shoots out of the
Yeah,
thing, and then the guy,
exactly.
it's Palmer, isn't it? Part the Palmer
Yeah.
thing, and he
Hmm.
sort of like
And again, one of
turns
the
it
ones
instead.
you're totally not expecting at all, and
Well,
suddenly
you know,
there he
it could
is.
be, it really
Yeah,
could be
it
any
could
of
have been
them.
any
That's
of
the
them.
beauty of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And then, but then, what I like about that is you had the whole thing. This whole action scene with Palmer, and they set him on
Hmm.
fire. He bites the other guy, whatever. They have to kill
Yeah,
him as well. They have to set him on fire.
exactly. Yeah,
Should have got the spoiler alert card out. Never mind.
yeah.
And then,
And Windows just gets
when
eaten
which I'll
up.
get mixed. It's the stoner. Is the Palmer is the stoner guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
Windows is
and
the guy with the
then
glasses. Yeah,
Windows is the radio guy who
yeah,
is
yeah.
just totally freaked out. But
But
that's
but but
quite understandable. Not everyone's going to be an action hero just in front of an alien,
he's just
relieving
going to
themselves.
freeze and fight or flight.
Exactly. Some people fight or flight.
But you have this big action sort of scene with him,
Mm.
and they set fire to him and everything. And then what I love is it then sort of cuts with very hard cuts straight back to where we were before, because we've still got to finish this
Oh
blood
yeah, we've got
test.
two more guys. We've got
We've
two
still got
more.
two more guys. We've still got sort
Yeah,
of Childs and the guy with the gun who shoots
yeah.
the older
The
guy.
the yeah the
I'd rather not
army
spend the rest
officer.
of this winter tied to
I
this
just
fucking
fucking
couch.
ouch. I mean, that I knew was coming up, and I was
Yeah,
waiting for that because it
and that's
did look
funny
like
as
an
well.
amazing. And that's brilliant. Yeah.
It not dissipates, but it sort of
Mm,
it sort of lets loose some of the tension a little bit at the end of that scene. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Um, so, but let's talk about, the general sort of themes and techniques, because I think it's, as I said,
Mm.
paranoia, I think is the main thing. It's a
Oh
masterclass
yeah. Well, that's it.
in,
That's what
in
both
par
of
it's,
these, both of these versions are about. It's just pure, full-on paranoia.
yeah.
That's
And in
the
this one,
aspect
it's,
of the fear,
but I
of the
think,
horror aspect.
what's different about this one, perhaps is, and perhaps it isn't true of the 51 version, is the way this film kind of plays with subjectivity. Like the original film is kind of basically mostly shot in long shot with lots of which is the Howard Hawks thing
Yeah.
again, where lots of characters in the shot all
Hmm.
talking to each other, and it's kind of a
Yeah.
group dynamic,
Yeah.
or
But in some
a
ways,
group
that's the way
shot.
Hawks wanted it because he
That's
was a
how he,
master of dialogue,
that
and
was
that
his
was his
style. Yeah,
style exactly.
yeah.
So,
But in
um,
this film, it's more about, shifting subjectivity. Like, not only does the story never clearly tell you whose side to be on or who's
mm,
really a thing, neither does the camera.
yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I think a really good, there's all these sort of little effects. Like, that there's that shot where you've got Fuchs sitting in the foreground of the shot,
Mm,
you'll know in a minute. You'll know the one I mean in a minute. And
hmm.
McCready, Kurt Russell, is standing in the background of the shot, framed in the doorway, and the
Yeah.
rest of the room
Hmm.
is in darkness. And they use
Hmm.
like a split diopter shot, I think.
Yeah.
So you got them both in perfect focus,
Mm,
and then you realize that a lot of the rest of the time, you've got like one character in the foreground, and they're with a very fuzzy background. So lots of is it shallow depth of field? Is
yeah.
that the right way
Yeah.
of saying it?
Hmm.
So you've got a lot of that going on. So it kind of
Well,
it gives
and
you, well, because
that's
it's
kind of
isolation as
normal.
well. It isolates the
Yeah.
characters in the foreground, and it's kind of symbolizes their unclear motivations as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you got
Hmm.
the split after shot kind of tells
Yeah.
you.
I
So
do
does that
remember
mean
that
they're both
scene.
human, or does it mean they're both
No.
things, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You got all these
Um,
sort of
No, I remember the scene that you're referring to because it's early on, and then again, they're only working out that, oh, right, this thing is t trying to copy us,
yeah,
and now they're starting to realize this kind of it's like one of the first bits where it's like, right, any of us could be the alien. Shallow
yes,
depths of field. I mean, the issue you've got is the kind of set that they had and the lighting. It's a normal sort of like it's an easy way of shooting stuff. You're focusing on the main character that's has that particular bit of dialogue, whereas people in the background would just be slightly out focused or
hmm. But you
simply
don't
because
have to
of
shoot it like that, do you? It's
don't
still an
have
artistic
to.
choice.
It's an artistic choice, but it is just easier.
It's a practical choice as well.
It's a practical choice, and if
It could
it's
just be
particularly
that.
with lighting as well, if you're shooting on a very dark set as well, it's
Well,
just easier to do that.
there's a lot of that. There's a lot of light and dark in this movie as well. There's a lot
Exactly,
of,
that's it.
the high contrast. We wonder what's hiding in the shadows. It's
And that's part of the suspense as well. So you couldn't just have
yeah,
the whole place properly lit up like a proper research station in the
it would be.
Antarctic. It
Yeah.
would be lit up like a beacon anyway.
I mean,
Um,
I mean, that whole thing. That's a very common horror technique, of course. But I
yeah.
think in this film, especially, it augments the mystery element, doesn't it? What I like as well, talking about subjectivity, though, is
Mm.
at the end. Oh, uh, at the end,
Yeah.
when they're under the which way is it? There it is.
Hmm.
When the sort of climatic explosion goes
Mm.
off, that destroys the station,
Yeah. Hmm.
suddenly, very suddenly, it just cuts to this long shot of the whole station blowing up.
Yeah.
So it's like objectivity is replacing subjectivity. So does that mean
Hmm.
that the thing is dead? There's
Yeah.
no, we don't need to worry about subjectivity anymore.
And then you see that Russell's character, sorry, because I'm not great at names, I never
McCready,
have been. McCready's left, staggering around, finds a seat, and I don't know if he has got a bottle of whiskey still.
yeah.
Um, but obviously,
Well,
then
there's a
you've got the
theory
other,
about that, but anyway, yeah.
and then you've
Come on to
got
that later.
was it Child,
Childs,
the other,
yeah.
yeah, obviously
Keith
two
David.
strong protagonists all the way through the film, and they're the ones that are remaining, and then there's that still who's who is one of them because in neither of them know if
Hmm.
one of them is the alien or they're both
Or
human
neither, or
or
both.
neither.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
both are human or both one's an alien or if they were both an alien, they probably know that as well.
We can probably, yeah, I guess we can, according to the rules of the film as set out, we can,
Hmm.
I suppose we can at least eliminate that possibility, but still, that leaves a lot of possibilities.
Exactly. But it was nice. I enjoyed it being left open on that ambiguity at the end.
At the very
I
end,
enjoyed
yeah.
that, whereas so many films would have closed it off, and had one of them killing the other one
Tied it
off,
up
and the
neatly,
hero,
yeah.
yeah. But
I think the whole point of the film is to be ambiguous about it, is to be unclear, because it is about, because that kind of uncertainty, it breeds,
Yeah,
it breeds paranoia. I mean, and
of
which is
course.
what we were talking about before. Well, this is interesting. Like, it's interesting to think about how the paranoia is expressed differently in this 1980s version to how it was expressed in the 50s, because in the
Yeah.
50s version they're sort of paranoid about different things. I mean, we touched on this,
Mm,
talking about the Cold War. They're like kind of at either end of the Cold War, aren't they? Like
yeah.
1951 and
One's at the
1982.
beginning, one's at the end. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and a big difference in 1951 version is that it's set in the Alaskan Air Command.
I think the original film is much more a battle between science and the military.
And I think the film is on the military side,
And
because
it's
in
very much on the military side because,
the Dr.
yeah.
Carrington is the scientist character with the
Hmm.
sort of the little goatee beard and the
Yeah.
white,
Hmm.
like he looks like, I
Blonde
mean, the Merciless
hair.
with
And
hair
yeah,
and a
exactly.
wig.
Yeah.
And he's the traitor. He's the guy who
Mm.
tries to appease the monster. But by
Yeah.
1982, like, most
Mm.
of the characters are scientists,
Yeah, exactly.
scientific research
Yeah.
stations.
That's
So
just,
that
yeah.
attitude is shifted, or at least
Yeah.
modified.
The characters didn't seem that sciencey.
Well, they
You
are. I
obviously
mean,
had two
yeah.
doctors, and they were the most sciencey. But
As,
I mean, you had like a pilot, then you had like the army guy, the military personnel, the two
yeah.
doctors, and all the others were just like kind of, you had no idea what their roles were
I
a
guess
little
there's.
bit.
I mean,
You had a bit of a stoner, you had the radio guy, but then
well,
they didn't
one's a
seem
chef,
very
one's a
once a shit.
communications. Yeah, one's a
But
yeah.
I just got no.
And the pilot is the cowboy as well, McCready.
Exactly.
He's even
Yeah.
got the hat, and
Yeah.
he's the sort of loner kind of,
But I felt like I got no.
even among all these sort of hardy, laconic loners,
Mm,
he's even hardier and even more laconic and even more of a loner, isn't he?
exactly. But
He's an outcast among outcasts,
I
sort of thing.
felt, I know I'm just, this is criticism like me from writing, and there was just felt like there was a lack of professionalism from each of the varying characters. So
Hmm.
you didn't get an idea of who was who. I don't know. It didn't have a firm enough background for me for the characterization. But then that's me, so I'm just being a bit.
But no, fair enough. I mean, I think probably, and maybe I'm just making excuses because I like the movie so much, but
Hmm,
I think it's probably deliberate. Like, we don't, like the film doesn't want us to know too much. Like, it doesn't want each character to walk in and say, "Hey, I'm Dave. I'm the chef. I also like playing snooker."
hmm.
Not that I'm suggesting that's what you wanted
Yeah,
to see, but you know what I mean. It's like,
yeah, very
they're
much
all a
so. I
bit
mean,
vague. They're
yeah,
all a bit vague, and
it is a bit
we can
vague.
only
Yeah,
judge
you're
them on
right.
what we see them do.
True.
Also, the slightly less highfalutin reason, the more pragmatic reason, this just occurred to me. I mean, I think he's a very efficient filmmaker. He doesn't waste
Mm,
his time on anything. He would probably regard too much character detail as just extraneous and just, well, it's got nothing to do
yeah.
with it. I don't.
Hmm.
That's not the
No, it's
story I'm
true.
telling. I don't care. It's like, it's not
Mm,
really. We just want to stick to the story we're telling at hand.
yeah.
I think we have to talk about the setting,
Okay.
because the whole, again, the isolation theme. I think
Mm,
the movie is a gigantic metaphor for cabin fever. They're trapped in this Antarctic
yeah.
remote location. It's bad weather. It's oppressive
Mm,
surroundings. They're surrounded by mountains you can't climb and snow you can't run through. Like, there's no escape. But
yes.
I think
Yeah.
actually these characters, one thing they do have in common, perhaps, is that I
Mm,
think they kind of like it that way.
yeah. No,
You know,
I mean, you wouldn't go up to the Antarctic or the Arctic if you weren't a bit of a loner.
you've got to have a
Um,
certain kind of
you've
personality,
got to
haven't you?
have a
It's like,
certain mentality to be able to deal with being on your own. You're stuck in a tin box with lots of people, so you've
yes,
got to learn to
ironically,
balance these things off.
these loners have to work together and kind of
Exactly. And I
trust
guess
each
that's
other to a
what
certain
I'm
extent.
so, and then that first book with the helicopter, and there's like, they're straight in with shooting the dog. So I'm like, how do they know that? So my first thinking was, how do they know that that's the alien? Because obviously they're shooting a dog for a reason. And
See, that's the thing. If you didn't know anything about the film,
mm,
up to and including having seen the
exactly,
original, I
yeah.
think
Sorry.
you would watch that film and just, it's a great opening, because it's like,
Mm,
why are these guys trying to shoot this
shoot a
poor
dog.
dog?
Yeah.
It's
What
a
is it?
horrible
What's
thing.
going on?
And can
Yeah.
I just say, just quickly,
Mm.
quick aside, that dog, what a great performance.
Ah, brilliant.
Like, so
Amazing.
still, just sitting there quietly watching everyone, barely moving.
Hmm.
Very, very, very good boy or girl.
Very, very well trained dog.
Yes,
Very well
very
trained
excellent
dog.
dog performance.
Um,
Did you think one thing I thought was interesting about the film was, I felt
mm,
there was I felt a keen sense of time passing at a sort of immeasurable, unpredictable kind of rate. Like
Mm.
there's a scene where Blair, Wilfred Brimley, was looking at the computer and he's figuring out how long until the
Yes.
thing
Oh,
takes
yeah,
over the
yeah.
whole world,
Oh, I
27,000
wish
years.
we had him during COVID. That would have been amazing. How quickly he worked all of this out
Yeah,
on
yeah.
a 1982 Commodore 64. Just incredible amounts of technology and graphics to be able to work out.
I'm surprised it
Yeah,
still worked after McCready poured his whiskey into it.
I know. That
Uh,
was a great scene as well.
but but from that point on, you
Mm.
sort of we have no idea really how much time has elapsed. Like it could be, it feels
Exactly,
like it could be
because
days, weeks, or months. I mean,
if you
did you
also
feel that?
notice, yeah, what was interesting as well is when they're talking, oh, we're getting into winter, I don't want to spend another winter. And most people, if you're that far north, once you pass,
South.
sort once you get,
Well, when it's
sorry,
cold,
yeah.
when it's
The
that
thing
cold.
is that when you're getting up to the winter, so when you're getting sort of like around, ooh, sort of like March, April, May. You get into May time, you've got what, about 3 hours of daylight? Four at the most?
Second half of the film is in the dark, isn't it? Is
Yeah, I
it
know,
night?
but you are
Or more or
right. The
less.
time you're not sure how many days are passing. You're not sure
Yeah.
the time frame of, is all of this just happened in the same sort of 24-hour sequence? And
How
there are
quickly
bits
is
where
it?
it's daylight. Yes, you're right. Most of it is in the dark. There are bits that are in
Well, I think
daylight.
I think basically the first half of the film is pretty much the first is daylight and the second half is
Yeah.
nighttime, more or less. So maybe that's what that means.
Mm.
It's winter and we're hardly going to see the sun for. I've got a little theory. I mean, it's probably not my own theory. I
Mm.
probably I'm
Yep.
not the first person to think of it, but I think there's a surefire way of telling humans from things
Okay.
because humans are irrational.
Mm.
Like they shout and they argue and they get emotional, obviously, but the thing can take advantage of that and it can sort of simulate it when it needs to.
Yeah. Hmm.
But now I need a spoiler
Mm.
alert card for this.
Mm.
The reason it where's it need to go? There it is. But the reason that the thing loses in the end, assuming of
Mm.
course you read the story that way and it's not Childs or McCready at the end,
Yeah.
is that humans are self-destructive. They'll even destroy their own habitat and
Yeah.
they'll
Hmm.
doom themselves to the Antarctic cold just so they can defeat their enemy, whereas things will do
Yeah.
anything to survive, and that's the key difference. What do you think
Well,
about that idea?
okay. Yeah, I do. That is a sensible argument. But if you notice towards the end of the film, they are talking about we have to destroy the station because it will just allow itself to wait out for the rescuers to arrive.
Mm. Oh, they have
Because
a
the
rational
alien,
reason for doing it, yeah, but it's
yeah,
still it's also yeah, all right. So yeah, I see your point. It's if they're doing it for a sort of a
because the
rational
thing,
reason rather than
yeah,
just out of emotional. Oh,
because
blowing up the
because
station.
also
Yeah,
we don't know how well that the alien can survive in the cold. It might not be able to survive in the
that's
cold as
true.
well as humans, or it can survive a lot better in the
Well, it
cold.
survived. The guy says when they find the spaceship that's been there for 100,000 years or
Well,
something, doesn't he?
exactly, but it
So
being
it survived all
frozen, it
that
been in
time.
it
Yeah.
been either in some form of hibernation, but we don't know the metabolic condition of the alien anyway, that how well it can survive in sub-zero temperatures or not.
We don't
So
know
we
anything
just
about the
don't know.
alien, about the
So
thing. That's the
again, it
beauty of it.
leaves it open to that additional ambiguity of,
Okay, yeah.
um, but I kind of get your point that, yeah, humans are rational. So you
I think
can
I'm
use
thinking
that
about it less
rational
in a narrative
thinking.
sense and more in a sort
Yeah.
of, like as an idea, like from the look of things, it's an irrational thing to do.
Mm,
We'll even blow up the thing that will keep us alive.
yeah.
But I suppose, yeah, it's more of a sacrificial, it's an act of self-sacrifice to
Well,
save the
that's
world.
it.
But that to me seems a bit that they'd all agree on that. Because
Mm,
who's left alive at that point? It's McCready, Childs, although Childs kind of wanders off, doesn't he?
yeah.
I think Knowles and the Stevie Wonder fan,
Yeah.
and the guy, the military guy,
The
the older
military
guy
guy.
getting off
Yeah.
his fucking couch,
Mm,
him, because
yeah.
Blair gets him. I suppose when it's that small numbers, they can all
Mm,
agree, okay, let's do this. Whereas perhaps if there'd been more of them at the beginning of the film when it was still 10, 12 of them, whatever it was,
yeah.
they might not have all agreed on that. So at least one person
No,
you would think would say,
exactly.
"Hey,
When it's
bollocks to
down to
that." I'm
just
not.
the handful.
Yeah,
What was interesting when
interesting.
you mention that, you don't get a close-up shot of the military guy, but you do get a close-up shot of the cook when Kurt Russell suggests that we just destroy everything so it can't survive.
Oh, when he makes
That
that, actually makes
when
the
he makes that
suggestion.
suggestion, because obviously for the military guy who go, yeah, totally, I'm with you, yeah, 100%, I can understand. We don't want this thing getting out to the greater.
Would he though?
Probably
necessarily. I mean, well,
most military,
out of
yeah.
all of them, I suppose on the
He's
surface, you
probably
might
one
think
that's
on the
more
face of it,
likely to go with that. But then, yeah, you get a camera shot to
the
the
chef,
cook guy to get
yeah,
his
Knowles,
kind of
yeah,
response to the oh shit, we've got
and
to
he's a bit more
sacrifice
like,
ourselves. Yeah,
really? Is that what we do?
exactly.
Let's talk about the characters a little bit. I mean, I don't know if there's that. Is there really that much to say about them, the individual characters, though? Because
Well, like I said, it's a hodgepodge. You
well,
need a hodgepodge of characters.
no, what I
Another
mean is
thing.
though. I mean, John Carpenter movies aren't really known for vivid or colourful characters anyway. He seems more
Hmm,
interested in the dynamics between them, and their group
yeah,
psychology. And this is a
exactly.
very
Yeah.
good
Hmm.
a trait he shares with Howard Hawks, of course.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, do any of the characters really sort of stand out for you? I mean, they're the moments, I suppose, but
I will have. I mean,
before we, and also more importantly, perhaps which ones were things? Bear that in
mm,
mind when answering you.
I mean, I think the only thing that really grabbed me was actually towards the beginning, is when the dog arrives and the Norwegians are shooting at
Mm.
the dog, and the army guy just like shoots him dead, not
Yeah,
wounds him, not sort of
just kills
like
him. Yeah.
just calls him flat out. Now, in my mind, I did make a note of that. It's like, what the hell, shoot and ask questions later. You know,
Well, to be fair, though, I
the
mean, it
rational
does.
person would have sort of like, well, okay, something serious is going on for this to be happening.
Yeah.
Surely you would just sort of like want to find out what's going on, even if you've got someone quite dangerous sort of running through the camp
Well,
with a sniper rifle.
he's running through he's shooting at the dog, but he's also injured one of the guys as well.
Yeah, but that could have easily been
So
an accident just as much
yeah,
as.
but still, this guy's coming in, firing his gun into like
Yeah,
a.
but he's
I
ignoring. He's
mean,
not shooting at people, shooting at the dog.
yeah, but yeah, well, all right. I
I'm
mean, I'm not saying he's right to do it. Don't get me wrong, but
no,
what I
no.
am saying is it's understandable that he just went,
I don't
"Oh,
think it
I've
is
got to take this guy
understandable
out."
because if he was going around killing people, he would have shot everybody else. He had an easy opportunity to shoot lots of
Well,
people. There
yeah,
were
that's
five or
true.
six people just standing around unarmed. He's not shooting at them. It's a
And
one
also,
miss shot of as a grey shot to the leg, but he's still going after dog. He's ignoring everybody else.
mm,
He's just mindful. And then the military guy even breaks
but,
the window to
hang on. Well,
shoot.
exactly because he's inside, so he can't see very well.
True.
All he
Yeah.
knows is someone's out there with a gun shooting at my guys.
Yeah.
Get my gun quickly, shoot. He literally,
Yeah.
yeah, like you say, shoots like in a western. He shoots the
Mm.
glass out of bangs the
Yeah.
breaks the glass and sticks his hand through, sticks his
Yeah.
gun through the thing. I mean, he can't see what's. I mean, that's a choice. They did that on
Yeah. Fair
purpose.
point.
He doesn't go
Yeah.
outside and
You
shoot
don't,
him
yeah,
and assess the
exactly.
situation.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not making a sort of moral judgment one way or the other.
Hmm.
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to understand it in terms of motivation. I
Yeah.
think it makes sense.
Hmm.
But I know what you mean. It's kind of it's a and
It's
of course
viewing it
it
from the
ends up costing them all their
perspective
own,
of each of the
costing them all their
characters.
lives.
Yeah.
And his choice ends up costing them all their lives as well
Yeah.
because if they just stopped, I mean, they'd also one of them would have to learn Norwegian
Yeah,
or teach him
exactly.
English.
It's like,
Well, yeah, at some point you might think out of desperation you would go dog not dog, dog
dog,
not
dog,
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 or
dog.
something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah,
hmm.
but then the movie would be over in five
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly.
Okay, so I mean,
Yeah.
the obvious character to talk about is R.J. McCready,
Yeah.
played by
Hmm.
Kurt Russell. But I mean, I say obvious, but I mean, watching it now, he's going to be the protagonist because he's Kurt
Hmm.
Russell. He's a big
Yeah.
star. But I think at that time, he wasn't quite yet the Kurt Russell we know. Like he'd been a
Yes.
child
Yeah.
actor. He'd done loads of Disney films. He did a
Hmm.
film where he kicked Elvis in the shins,
Hmm.
and then he started working with John Carpenter, who actually cast him as Elvis in a TV movie. Funnily enough.
Hmm.
But I think mainstream sort of Hollywood success and stardom was still a little bit ahead of him at this
Oh,
point.
exactly. It
He hadn't
wasn't.
done things
Yeah.
like Silkwood. I think got nominated for an Oscar for that or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but McCready's kind of like, he's kind of I guess he's the Ripley of the film if we're making that alien
Yeah.
comparison
Hmm.
again. He's the one who sort of emerges as effectively the protagonist, I suppose.
Yeah.
And he's kind of the leader of the groups at the times, but he's a killer. I mean, like there's a helicopter pilot, Howard Hawks again. That's exactly the kind of
Hmm.
character Howard Hawks would have loved.
Yeah.
He made movies
Hmm.
about flyboys and all that kind of thing. And he's the kind of, down to earth, no bullshit everyman that America can relate to more than
And
it
at
would a
that
bunch of egghead
time,
scientists.
in Hollywood, well, and they still are transfixed with it. Americans just love a hero. They always just want a hero
A
character, a
doer
down to
rather than
earth,
a thinker as
a
well.
doer rather than a thinker.
Yeah.
That's why you don't get the military guy trying to kind of take ownership, even though you would normally assume that. Um,
Well, but that's interesting because McCready, I'm kind of ascribing a backstory to him where he was a pilot in Vietnam or something like
yeah.
that. I'm guessing he probably does have a military background, but
Hmm.
he's not currently the military figure in charge like the other
Yeah.
guys who shoots the
Hmm.
Norwegian guy. Yeah, yeah, I see. I take your point. Yeah. So he's more like
Um,
he's kind of, I guess that fits in with that kind of post Watergate suspicion of authority kind of thing that was.
hmm.
So he's kind of like, yeah, I've been in the military and it was bullshit, man. I'm striking
Yeah.
out on my own. I'm being a cow. I'm a cowboy.
Yeah, it's interesting you just get that one military character and everybody else seems to be a kind of like out and out or got some form of military background. But it was quite interesting that you get there's I felt with most of the characters there is this kind of rejection from the military. You got the complete stoner, which is
Yeah.
not hiding it, shoving it right down your
Yeah, yeah.
throat. Um, and yeah, some of the other characters are kind of very much with that. I mean, the radio
There's a streak of anti-authoritarianism in
very
the
much. I
in
mean,
the
the
group. Yeah,
radio guy,
definitely.
Windows, is totally like. I mean, any radio guy would be very much on the ball, trying to get stuff and reporting back, saying, "Look, sorry, still no reply, still no reply." Anybody who does that job does it to a kind of, I want to say military precision, but has to have that sort of like, right, no, I've got a job to do. Whereas Windows is whinging about doing the
Yeah,
job,
yeah,
and the army guys having a go at him about doing the basics
yeah.
of what he needs to do anyway. So
Tells him
that
off. Yeah,
felt,
but also
but
you want people to be a bit abrasive with each other anyway. You
oh, of
want them to
course,
have a
yeah, it
sense of.
creates
They need to have a sense of
dynamism, and
camaraderie to an
yeah,
extent, but
exactly.
I feel like they don't. Although they don't really. The cat,
I don't have
whatever
a
camaraderie
camaraderie. They
they don't, do
don't.
they?
No.
Whatever camaraderie they have is kind of.
And normally with those
No,
sort of
there isn't. There's not
environments,
much evidence of it. You're
yeah.
right. They just sort of get along, or they
And
just get
we,
on with it individually rather than working together. The
yeah.
other thing I was going to say about McCready, which is appropriate under the circumstances, is that he's not afraid to be
Hmm.
unpopular,
No,
including with you,
exactly. Yeah,
because he
yeah,
makes difficult decisions, and
mm,
as the plot starts
yeah.
turning its screws on everyone, he has to make some really difficult decisions.
Mm.
So, is McCready a thing?
No.
I sort of I think this is interesting. Every time I watch the film, I think it's a different. I think different people are things. For a while there, I was thinking
Mm.
maybe because obviously there's a point in the story where the other characters are convinced that he's a thing, just
Yeah.
before the blood test bit, and he's sort of
Hmm.
hiding in the thing with a stick of dynamite because he sort of went off.
Yeah.
He sort of went off on his own for a moment, and they found his clothes that were burned, and or because
Exactly. Again,
the
that
thing
that's
rips
your
through your clothes,
classic.
but it
I mean, at
copies you.
that
Yeah,
point, I was like, "Ooh, okay, yeah,
but you
fair."
think it was misdirection.
It was misdirection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've got to have red herrings. If you don't have red
Oh, of
herrings,
course.
a
I mean, well,
mystery isn't a mystery. So
the film is a bloody warehouse full of red herrings. It stinks
exactly, it
for
was
all
a
the
good red
herrings.
herring. I enjoyed it because you're like, "Ooh, okay." Um,
Oh, and also watching it now, all the big star, he's the thing, Kurt Russell,
Because you're like,
named
oh,
out
okay,
the
then.
one out
So
of the cast
how's
we
he
all know.
then going to lead all of the things together and get rid of the humans? And how is he going to do it? So yeah, you're then kind of like, yeah, you're changing your thought process as to who you're following or why you're following them. Because yeah, sometimes you want the bad guy to win.
The other character that always springs to my mind in terms of who's the thing
Mm,
is Blair, played by
mm,
Wilford Brimley, who is the
yes,
kind of biologist guy, who figures out the aliens plan on the Commodore
yes,
64 or whatever
hmm,
it was. By the way, just one quick side note. Can I just say, Wilford Brimley, the actor, he had
mm.
his 47th birthday during the shooting of this film.
Wow.
We're older than him now, and B, he
Mm,
looks about 60.
I know. He
He
always
always,
looked old.
even
He
in
just
Cocoon,
always. I
even in
know.
Cocoon, like he was supposed to be as old as Don Amici and Hume Cronin. He was
Mm,
literally young enough to be their son. I looked it up. I looked up their dates of birth. He's
wow.
25 years younger than they are. Anyway, so
Bizarre. Yeah.
he's the one who and then like after a while
Mm,
he's the first one they really start to think, oh, is he a thing?
yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
starts going nuts. He gets the gun and starts shooting everybody, and we're
Exactly. That
not
was
sure whether it's
brilliant.
because
Yeah.
he's the thing trying to kill everyone, or is it
Or
because he's paranoid because he
he's
thinks they're all
aware.
things.
Exactly. He's aware of the danger that the alien can create by assimilating and taking over the Earth. So he's
And
like,
massively
let's
overreacts.
trap it here. Let's
Yeah,
make sure it can't escape. It can't
yeah,
get out.
yeah.
So that's why he starts smashing everything up,
He's
and
the most paranoid.
he's
Again,
the most
if
paranoid.
he's human, he's the
Yeah.
most paranoid.
And it was
But
really interesting is then the scene you see him later where he's like, I'm calmed down now. You can let me out now. And you're like, yeah, right.
yeah,
Because
except
you
except in
know
the
he's been assimilated at that point.
except when
And
he's yeah, and when he's saying that, what next to him is a noose
Mm. Yeah.
hanging from the ceiling.
So he's already like
Everything's
going,
fine. Again, that dark humor. Like everything's fine. I'm not crazy anymore.
yeah,
Everything's fine. The
no,
noose, no, I was just gonna
no.
hang a Barbie doll in that for like a voodoo ritual.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so brilliant.
It's oh, so
That
good.
was so well done.
I think he's probably the one who gets the most sort of like you get the most time to think with him to think about like is he a thing, is he a human,
Mm,
and I think because I mean eventually at the end we realize he's a thing because he grabs the military guy and he's building the spaceship
hmm
under the
Well,
I loved
exactly.
a
As soon
quick
as you
thing
see
about
that,
the
yeah.
light. I just want
Mm,
to say one more thing about the light that I didn't say earlier. A lot of the time when people are like we're not sure if they're a thing or not, they sort of get shot in such a way where they're tinged with like blue light,
yeah.
which I thought was really cool. It's like a little sort of visual,
A
like,
bit like
does
you are
that mean they're
now.
a thing? A bit like I am now. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to draw attention to that, and I'm wearing a blue
Yeah.
jumper, although it doesn't really look blue in
Mm,
this light. But then when they go into the underneath the sort of and like, I also like another color thing. I like when they go into the underbelly of the station under the where he's building his
mm,
spaceship, and it's all like,
yeah.
and they're going down there with these sort of red flares, and it turns the
hmm
snow like
Yeah.
the red, like it's like they're going into descending into hell.
Hell.
I thought that was really good.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so was he a thing all along? And if so, was he the only thing for long periods of the film? Like,
Well,
shoot when he's
no,
shooting his gun and
I think when he was
because I
in the
just want to
research
say
station shooting the gun and they all like pile in to get him down, he's human. He's a
because
human at that point.
but
He
there's also
knows the
things like
danger.
but
He's
there's also
yeah.
things like he touch when he's cutting the because he's the first one who has contact with it
Yeah, of
because
course.
he's cutting
Yeah.
up the dead
Yeah.
bodies of the
Yep.
thing, and he touches there's a point where he touches the dead thing with the end of his pencil, like the rubber on his
Yeah.
pencil,
hmm
and then all in the same scene.
Yeah.
Maybe the same shot, and then he sort of touches the pencil to his lips. It's very subtle. It's kind of like he's thinking,
Yeah.
like,
Well again,
and
yeah.
then and again this idea of infection. McCready gives him the bottle of vodka to drink from. He drinks from it
hmm
first, then gives him. Maybe McCready was the thing, and he's giving it to him.
Yeah.
It's all these different.
Well, exactly.
Infection could have
These
happened
are the
any
kind
number
of
of
things
ways.
that you go back into to kind of try and reanalyze to go,
Yeah,
well, when did change? So these tiny little Easter eggs of sort of like just, all right, is it this? Is it that? And again, that's the sign of a really good director. So you might miss it the first time round you see it, or the second time round you see it. And then like, when you start watching it, you go, oh, this bit. And so again, this is some of the things why we're doing this channel is to be able to go, hey, these movies are brilliant. You really, really want to watch them,
and
even if you
have you
haven't watched
noticed
it.
this or that or yeah,
Have you
yeah.
noticed it? Have you? Because I hadn't thought about that bit with the vodka bottle where he drinks, takes a
Well,
sip
you've
and then
only,
leaves it in
I
front
mean,
of
you've
it.
only seen
Exactly.
the
I've only
film
just
once. I
seen
only
it.
noticed it
Yeah,
this time, I
but you're
think.
making me think about those things.
Yeah,
But
exactly. No,
I'm,
the film is. I'm just pointing them out.
yeah. Um,
And
so I'm,
also about Blair, also the other thing is he's also I noticed this time as well, this time watching it. Blair is the first person to even mention the idea that someone could be an imposter, that's what the thing is doing.
mm,
Now,
yeah,
maybe that's because, the obvious it's because he's the scientist, he's figured it out,
yeah,
or maybe he's the imposter and he's trying to turn everyone against each other by making them paranoid so he can
yeah.
win, so he can take over the
It's an
it can
either
be
or. Yeah, you could
yeah,
do, but
that's the
I
beauty of it.
think the rationalization of, you look at human rationalization, he's aware that we've got to trap the alien in the ice hole that they're in because it
Mm.
can't get out without human
Ice
help.
hole.
So
Sorry.
that's why he goes berserk. That's why he smashes everything up.
Yeah,
That's
with the
why
gun, shooting
he's
him with the gun.
shooting
Yeah, yeah.
everybody else. He's making everybody, he knows he's going to get thrown in, he's going to get in really serious trouble from it. But he knows if he does what he does there and then, he's going to make everybody start being aware of the threat of what the hell was going on. Because if he just goes into the hall, the mess, and just explain what's going on, knows that some people are just going to have doubts and go, "Oh, you've been stupid.
Full of shit. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
full of shit."
What a
If he
ridiculous
goes
idea. Yeah.
batshit crazy about stuff
Gets their
and smashes
attention.
everything, it gets their attention.
Yeah.
But
By golly, does he get their attention?
he
Yeah.
really does get their attention.
The other character I wanted to talk about was because, he's the only other character who makes it to the end, along with Kurt Russell's character, is Childs, played by Keith
Mm,
David, who's, Keith
yeah.
David is one of these guys. He's a great character actor. He's one of those
Mm,
sort of pocket genre icons like
yeah.
Lance Henriksen or Bill Paxton or
hmm
the king of them all, Bruce Campbell.
hmm
Keith David's been in everything. He's been in John Carpenter movies to cult sitcoms like Community or Rick and Morty. He plays the
hmm
president in Rick and Morty. Uh, and I always used to get Keith David mixed up with another actor called David Keith, who played Richard Gere's best maintenance officer
Yeah.
and gentleman. Uh, and he also played Daredevil's dad in the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck. Anyway,
All right.
there's a theory about Childs, a fan theory you may have heard of, you may not have heard of,
Mm.
having only just seen the film, where this idea that a thing must be a Childs must be a thing,
Mm.
because in the shot that the two shot, or the shot reverse shot conversation he has with McCready at the end, you can't see his breath, but you can see McCready's breath. So there's like,
Ah, right.
all the thing doesn't breathe.
Mm.
Uh, and also there's another theory which is a bit, I think it's a little bit outlandish, where in the bottle it's not whiskey, it's petrol, and you can tell because he swigs from it without realizing it's petrol, so he must be a thing.
Mm.
Now, I mean, both of those are very easily debunked. I mean, it could just be
Mm.
the angle of the, it could just be the lighting, it could just be,
Yeah,
you just don't
exactly.
see his breath,
Whereas in the
because
dark, you
the
might not be
thing
able to
would
see his
breathe,
breath.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If it's copying a human being, it
Well,
would breathe
yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's
Because
not.
he does mention about organs. There are organs inside when they
Yeah,
do the
they're complete
first. Yeah,
reproductions. Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
at a cellular level, so they
Yeah.
breathe.
Hmm.
And the petrol in the bottle thing is, well, okay, how stoned were you when you came up with that idea, or
Mm.
drunk? But again, these theories might
Well,
be
all,
bollocks, but it
all it
doesn't
is with
matter
theories is
because,
giving a justification to why it might be a thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so
you
because
like the idea that he's a
at
thing.
that
Here's your reason
end
for it.
point, you don't know either of them could be.
Yeah,
We know that Russell's just blown them all up, so he's
yeah,
unlikely to be, but still, you don't know. He might then still be have assimilated while he was leaving. The thing is, there's so many points where the aliens disappear. Like the very first one, the dog, when it turns into that big thing, half of it goes up through the roof and disappears straight
yeah,
away.
yeah.
So you don't know how many of these things there actually
Or
are,
bits of thing
or
there are, because
bits of things. We
it could
know
be
that when
yeah.
they die, the head came off of that one, that was in the doctor's surgery after the
It's all these
defibrillator.
different parts, and
So
it's
it
all
breaks
yeah,
apart to kind of separate itself out.
yeah.
So you don't know how many times the ones that have escaped have separated again. You don't know. So
That's the central point of the thing. Again, the point
you've got
is,
no
we're not.
idea.
You can make up as many
Yeah,
theories as you like, but the point is,
exactly.
we're not sure, and we never will be.
Well, see, all you're doing is with these fan theories is trying to justify a thought process, which is fair enough. It's
Yeah, you've had
interesting.
a
It's
thought about the film, and it's like, well, let's look for evidence, which is part
yeah,
of the fun of it. I mean, that's
exactly. Yeah,
I'm
the
not
whole
slagging
thing
them
about
off.
the
I mean,
breath, I hadn't even thought of that, and I didn't see it. And you're right. The whole
neither
thing
did
about
I. I've read
whiskey
about that
bottle
idea
and
online.
petrol, because yeah, you're right. He's throwing
Yeah.
the petrol bombs in at the end. Whether he's
Oh, I
got
didn't
any
think of that.
whiskey
I thought the
left.
petrol in the bottle thing was just.
No, because they were throwing petrol bombs in.
Oh,
If
of
you remember, they were
course, yeah.
going
So it
through
does. So
the
there is a reason why the
yeah.
person thought that.
It's supposed to
Yeah.
be either of these is going to try and kill the other one, or are they going to try
Or
and
not.
kill each other,
Or
or
they're
are
both
they
going to
going to
freeze to death.
both freeze to death, or
Oh,
the
yeah.
alien knows that it can outlive the human in this cold?
Yeah.
We all don't know. No, all of
Yeah.
these are unanswerable questions. So that's what I like about the end of the film.
And those two characters, Charles and McCready, have been quite antagonistic towards
They've
each
been
other all the
antagonists all
way
the way
through.
through.
Like when
So that's the
McCready
classic.
shoots,
One of
when
them's going to
McCready
kill one
shoots
of
the
the other
guy
one.
dead,
Yeah,
when McCready shoots the
yeah,
guy dead because and he
mm,
says, what's his name, the guy with the dogs, I forget
yeah.
his name, the
Guy
guy
with the
that
beard
runs
and
the
the
dogs.
baseball cap. Yeah.
Yeah, him. But when he shoots him, like,
Mm,
immediately Charles is like, oh, then it was, oh, sorry, it wasn't a thing
murder.
after all, so it was
Yeah,
murder. And
murder.
well, first of
Yeah.
all, technically it was self-defense. He was coming at him he was
With
gonna,
the scalpel.
but
Yeah,
then he had a gun, so I mean,
yeah,
yeah, all right, whatever.
yeah. Don't bring a knife to a
Um,
gunfight.
yeah,
Um,
don't bring a scalpel to a gunfight.
gunfight.
So, okay, I mean,
Mm,
the impact of the film was, I mean, it was, it's the funny thing is, it was a bit of a bomb, a box office
mm.
bomb. It was a big
But
budget. As I said earlier, it was John Carpenter's first sort of big budget studio movie,
mm,
and it was a bomb. And he never sort of really wanted. He didn't really like working with studios thereafter, did he? He did a couple of studio movies after that, Big Trouble in Little China, I think. But
mm,
the film was despised by critics as well. I think
yeah,
the received wisdom on that, I think, is that E.T. was the big, massive
yeah.
box office hit of that year, and for a lot,
Exactly.
and audiences just didn't
Hollywood
want to see
friendly.
science fiction
Yeah,
that was,
exactly.
that was pessimistic or dystopian. Blade
Hmm.
Runner had the same problem, came out summer of '82 as well. Also,
Yeah.
not flop, but it didn't do very well
Well,
commercially.
so
But
so
but but
many.
but
Yeah.
both films, they're both this and Blade Runner are regarded as like cultural slow burns. They both found their audience
Mm.
over time, and no, they're regarded as
Well,
classics.
most classics do. That's it. If you look at, the top,
Do most
most of the
classics do that?
well,
Some are pretty much
some
loved straight
are,
away,
but I would say
but it happens often. Yeah,
there's
I'll
a
give you that.
high
Yeah,
proportion. There is
yeah,
always a high proportion of
yeah.
cult classic movies that have bombed at the office, and then they just became brilliant masterpieces over time. Or they were right from the get-go, but studio execs are just dumbasses, and all they're interested about making money rather than making good quality
And the
movies.
opening
We know
weekend as well.
this.
I think the argument you're making there is the dismantling of capitalism, isn't it? Yeah, to the dismantling of capitalism.
To the dis-
The script does a really good job of, like we've said this already, I think, but
Mm,
the script has did a really good job of not spelling everything out. It's like nothing's
yeah,
fully explained. The thing is
on
never really
purpose. Yeah.
seen in its true
Hmm.
form.
We don't know too
Maybe
much
it doesn't
about
even
it.
have a true
Yeah,
form. So,
exactly.
the sense of mystery really adds to the suspense and the tension,
Yeah.
but also I think to the film's reputation among fans. Like, we've just spent the last hour arguing about what it all means, and
Mm,
people have spent decades arguing about what the film means.
mm,
Like who's a thing, who isn't, what's really happened in any given scene. I think that's why the film is still so popular, that
mm.
ambiguity. I think it's
Yes,
what's
exactly.
kept its
I mean,
reputation alive.
yeah, the only background thing we have about the aliens is the fact that they crash landed thousands of years ago.
That's it.
Yeah, that is it.
And you see the opening shot of it crash landing as well on,
Mm,
on the which
exactly.
must have happened
And I love the fact it's
and
a
we don't
flying
realize it's
saucer.
100,000 years before the film
I love
starts.
the fact it's a flying saucer. Yeah,
It's actually a flying
it's
saucer,
a
you're
proper
right, yeah.
flying saucer.
A 50s style flying saucer,
Yeah. Watch the skies, don't
No,
stop
it's not
touching
a
the
Star
sky.
Destroyer. It's not an
No.
X-wing fighter. It's
Mm-mm.
not a what's the
No.
thing from Battlestar? Not Battlestar Galactica. Buck Rogers, the thing that goes
Oh, right, yeah.
that thing.
Yeah.
In conclusion, Alan,
Mm.
well, I think you sort of answered this question. Did you like it? Would do you think you'll
Yeah,
watch it
no,
again?
I'll definitely, I'm itching to watch the extras. So,
But do you think you'll watch the film again?
yes, oh, definitely,
Will
definitely.
you watch it as
Because,
many times as you watched the original?
um, I don't
Unfair
know.
question.
I'm gonna, compare the two together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, watch this space because, yeah, we are gonna do a video on the thing from another world.
We might also do a video about remakes that are equal to or better than the originals.
Yes, definitely.
And I think this falls into
That's
that
something
category.
we've discussed many a time over a
Yes,
pint.
because
Um,
there's not many of them. There's not
there
most
isn't
remakes are
exactly,
completely
but there are some
pointless.
really, really good remakes
There
and
are,
how they balance against one another. And
and
there's
why
always
they're
this
better
argument
as
is
well, or
one is
why they're
better
good.
than the other, but
Yeah,
no, it's still so they're different.
yeah.
And again, this is what I'll be
I
discussing
think.
about is each of them have their different merits to each other. So
Hmm.
yeah, naturally you will always favor one over the other, but let's maybe leave that for another video.
Well, I mean,
Mm,
I think that's pretty much all we got. And
yeah.
you need to go make some dinner, and so do
Hmm.
we.
Hmm.
We've recorded a bit early this
Yeah.
today, and it's a Sunday. We haven't had our dinner yet, so
No, exactly.
yeah. But that's pretty much all I got for the
Yeah.
thing. I hope you guys enjoyed
Hmm.
our
So
misinterpretations,
again,
and
like and subscribe if you're enjoying
subscribe and sub
our
like. Yes,
stuff.
please do.
And yeah, we will be putting out some deleted scenes as well, which you've all
I
been,
expect there's a couple of deleted scenes out of this
yeah,
one.
which you've all been enjoying. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
yes, thank you for
but
watching those
yeah,
shorter ones much for some reason.
exactly.
I don't know why you're watching the
Bit more
2 minute video
palatable.
rather than the 72-minute video. I don't know what
Yeah.
the attraction is there.
Mm.
Um,
But anyway, we would really do appreciate you
no, we do.
watching the big videos as well.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, we're still enjoying making this content for you all because we've got love and passion for this, as you've probably gathered already. So, but until next time, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching all the way through to the end. And yeah, we're all both about to run out of rum.
Yes, but only
So
just.
yeah, time to sign off. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video for Run With View. So good
We
night.
love you guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.